Hi guys, this is part 2 of the boyfriend stalkers will be exposed video. Again, I always update you on the marks on my head. I always update you folks on, these marks. You'll see them on my jaw. This morning they were able to somehow make my jaw shut like this. They can't do it when I'm awake and they can't do it when I'm sleeping, but however they're doing this, they're able to do it when I'm just about to doze off. So I believe it's a combination of being hit with something, being heated with something, and then being in some way, if not magnetized or electrified, some way. That's probably where the static comes from. And if you notice, my hands are always swollen. That comes from the heat. I have a knot in my joint. I have a knot in the joint in my leg. And you'll notice I have some knots on my chest and on my arm. I don't know if you guys can see that. So I wanted to let you guys understand, even my voice is raspier. Whatever is going on in this apartment is coupled with the stalking and the harassment. So the swelling, I told you folks about, that's what you see on my eyes. So the physical symptoms of this, the swelling of the jaw, is what you see. I can go on and on about the non-physical, but the physical symptoms are what you see, and you can even see how it affects. So I'm getting discolored. These are discolorations. I'll show you the discoloration. It's not just a shadow. It's actually my skin is being discolored. And you can see how I'm getting that sort of discoloration on my skin. Years ago, when I had the discoloration, I used something to lighten the discoloration, not to change my skin color because I want my same skin color, but to remove all these dark spots and circles around my eyes, and it worked. Even you can see the discoloration under my nose. So I have to, once this gets resolved, sooner rather than later, remove all these discolorations. You can tell nobody's skin should be this discolored and all these marks, and it's going to be a chore, but I want to get back to what I was describing. So as I said in the previous video, I believe a criminal organization did some investigating, and when they couldn't dig up dirt, they just started to use every form of technology to harass me. I let you guys hear the voices. I let you guys hear the sounds and the noise, people banging. And then the last thing was all of this hitting me to completely change out my appearance. So I work for companies and I have to be able to speak to people and look presentable. I can't have the look of a black eye when I'm talking to people. I have so much irritation that I don't even put anything on my lips or my eyes, because if it's irritated now, it'll just be more irritated after. So getting back to the story. So freshman year, I turned 18 in December. By January, I started a work study job, and I met two guys. The one who was the professor's assistant was the one who ended up being the guy I dated. I really liked the other guy, but the professor's assistant was more persistent. I'll just put it like that. So his persistence meant that I dated him, but there was something off with the relationship, and I felt uncomfortable, and that should have been a warning. And I've said in previous videos, I've gotten away, and I spoke about this in a previous video. I get away from these people usually, but for some reason at this time, this group brought all these people back into my life. One of the things that would happen was we would hold hands like this, and he would turn my arm like this, saying that was a better way of holding his hand. And I would say, well, that feels uncomfortable for me. So if we're walking like this, you hold hands like this, and someone turns your arm like that, and you say, ouch, that person should say, oh, I'm sorry, and not do it again. Not try to say, oh, well, this is better. And that happened the freshman year, and there were other things that happened. He kept showing up places where I was, and then he told me he kind of he implied he stalked someone else. He happens to be white, and he stalked another black female. So I kind of thought that was strange. And I was still young, I was 18. Years later, my senior year, we reconnected. And I figured, again, this is years ago. My senior year was in 1995. When I met him, it was 1992. So that was 30 years ago. Years ago, we didn't talk about things like this. So I figured, well, maybe it was me. Maybe, over time, you start to say, well, maybe I'm the person. Maybe the hand or arm twisting thing wasn't a big deal. Maybe the showing up where I was wasn't a big deal. We dated briefly. The same types of pattern of behavior existed. But this time we ended cordially. He found someone else, which I was happy about, and I was busy. We even were so cordial that when he got married to this person, I sent them a wedding present. He invited me to stay with them for the wedding, and I didn't go, obviously. But I thought it was a cordial way of ending the relationship. We kept in touch, talked briefly. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a relationship. So that the last time I saw him might have been in 1996 or 1997. The last time I spoke to him, and we didn't speak on a regular basis, but we spoke, when he got married, maybe a couple of other times after that. Where after in 1996, after I spoke to him, we spoke briefly, we would talk about politics and things like that. It wasn't an involved thing. So I have not seen him since about 96 or 97. But when we spoke the last time, I called him because in 2011, I saw a movie called Sliding Doors. And in the movie, it was like what your life would have been like if you made other choices. And the last time we were together in 1995, when we dated my senior year, I believed he wanted to marry me. So I kind of thought, like, well, what would have happened to my life? And this would have been in 2011. And I called him and we spoke. And I just, I just kind of went over that with him. And I said, I think I made the right decision. Like, we both made the right decision. But what would have happened if things went in a different direction? I thought that was an innocent conversation. It continued on the line of us being cordial, not dating each other, but cordial and talking to each other. Well, a decade later, more than a decade later, this seems to have become an issue. This organization included him as one of the people who targeted me. And now at this age, I do think it's strange that someone who was much older than me pursued me. I thought it was just an inappropriate situation because I could be the mother of someone that age, and if that were my daughter, if I were my own daughter, go back in time, I wouldn't like that relationship. And it turned out that's the reason my mother didn't like the relationship. She told me at the time, he's not a gentleman. And that was before all this other stuff. And at the time, I didn't understand it. But the lesson I've learned from that is she was right. I thought remaining cordial to someone who wasn't a gentleman would mean that that person would become a gentleman. I was wrong. I didn't understand. If you're not a gentleman when you're 25, you're not going to be a gentleman at 50-something. And that's where I learned a lesson from this. So, do I think he is part of this pattern? Yes, I do. Did I understand it in 2011 by being cordial that I would, a decade later, then have him back in my life? I never spoke to him from 2011 until the present. But with all this drama encircling me and the stories being told, you can tell exactly who's involved, which is why I keep telling you in my videos, this isn't something that's so far out there. It's something that can be easily traced to key people. And who's funding this? What do they get out of it? I believe they get a way of discrediting me. They get a way of trying to bankrupt me and ruin my business. And they get a way of trying to take my apartment. And that's why I'm telling you folks, if something like this is happening to you, it seems like there's no real name for it, but it's some sort of recruitment into something, trying to get me involved with the wrong types of people, trying to get me down the wrong path. And if I look back on 1992, then look back on 1995, then look back on 2011, it starts to make sense. It starts, I think that relationship opened the door to me being around people who I probably should not have been around. When we initially dated in 1992, I was much too young and immature and fresh, if you guys understand that, to have been around his circle. And I think that opened me up with my freshness to a group of people I shouldn't have been around. And by 1995, it was definite. That freshness was still there. I was 21, but I was still somebody who was fresh. And if I was 21, then he would have been almost close to 30. And that freshness, and I know from experience, when you're almost 30, that freshness isn't there. You're not that person anymore. So I think that relationship put me around those types of people. And when you are around those types of people and you have that freshness, they want to take advantage of it. So what I'm saying is that my mom was smart enough to warn me that he wasn't a gentleman. By the time I got mature enough at 21 to understand that he wasn't a gentleman, I was happy that he found someone and I wanted them to have a successful relationship. And I was flattered when he still remembered me fondly. And I was flattered, but I did not pursue that. And he didn't either. But I believe that there's something in that group of people that make them resent my freshness, my blackness, and my ability to tell them I'm not interested. So I think the plan for me was to be so flattered by his attention that I let him continue to pursue me, let him turn my arm, let him control me. So it's the age difference. But I wasn't. And when I wasn't, I feel that put me in that targeted list. So as I'm adding all of these people up, I see there's a theme going. I can't just be the person I am. Somebody who likes to craft, who likes politics, who's talkative, who likes to go out. No, I have to be that person. And some of you folks understand what I mean. And this organization that continues to pursue me and target me and punish me for being that person doesn't understand this is a free country. And with the knowledge that I'm gaining from my dealings with them, I'm going to tell you folks about it so you can warn each other and warn your daughters. And don't be flattered. I think that was my mistake I made 30 years ago. Don't be flattered by the attention of someone in an inappropriate position. When he gives you attention, there's a reason. That age difference was part of this. And after we broke up in 1995, I started getting pursued more by those types of people, and I avoided them. And now I think because I'm older and I'm not as healthy, they're trying to come right into my life, and I'm not going to let that happen. And folks, I'm going to keep updating you, giving you information about these types of people. They're all over, not just in the Bronx, not just in New York. They're all over. And if all of us get together and fight these types of people who try to recruit you into doing the wrong thing or try to take advantage or target us, we can win. We have to win. Thank you.